so much for science education in this country. She's still around. She teaches at University of Colorado, and someday I really want to meet her. And right there, that's John Stokes. Isn't that cool? So after that, the creationists had to get their act together. And so they came up with an issue called creation science. And they said, okay, fine, we'll teach evolution, but let's teach something else, 50-50, like creation science. And so they did their best effort, and they lost in McLean versus Arkansas, and then the next case was Edwards versus Aguilar, which made it all the way up to the Supreme Court. And again, creation science was stricken down as a religious proposition. So that left the creationists with another thing to go on, and they came up with this concept called intelligent design. And intelligent design, if you haven't already heard, basically, it's if it looks designed, it is design. It's really about that vacuous. But they said this is going to be a scientific theory because what they did was they took out all mention of God. Creation science, still pretends to, still admits that there's, a God here. This says, oh, well, we don't know who the God is. All we know is that there is a designer. So they were looking for a test case on this. Meanwhile, the National Center for Science Education was also looking for a test case, hoping to win. And somehow, for a whole myriad of reasons, it ended up in my backyard in Dover, Pennsylvania. Now, how did this start in Dover? Well, we had an attorney for the Thomas More Law Center, which promises to be the sword and the shield for Christians. They had been shopping around this pro-intelligent design textbook, going to school districts around the country, and saying, look, we'd like you to adopt this. They went to a school district in West Virginia, and they said, if you adopt this intelligent design book, you're going to get sued. But in exchange for you being the foot soldiers in our culture war, we will represent you for free. So the school district in West Virginia said, no, I don't think that's a good idea. They listened politely and said, no, that's not going to work. And so they were still shopping around, and then then along came a man named Alan Bonsall in Dover, Pennsylvania, who had just been elected to the school board here, and he was really upset that God had been taken out of schools. So he had started a campaign privately and to get God back in schools. And I'll show you a picture of sort of how it started. Now this mural was done by a kid named Zach Strauss, and this was for his graduation project. And Zach, I've interviewed him, and he says, I wasn't the best student in the world, but he never knew that there was a controversy over evolution. And he also liked art, so he spent all this time after school for months and doing this painting, and when he was done, he donated it to the science wing, or the science department. The janitor at the time saw this painting, and he was really offended by it. He was outraged, and he refused to hang it up, so it sat on the lip of the chalkboard for a long time. This got cut off a little bit. We can sort of... Anyway, his big complaint, he took the school board members into the science class one day in the summer and showed him this painting and explained why he was so offended. And he told the school board members, you can see the guy's schwanz, which is a Pennsylvania Dutch word for penis. And I'm not sure, I think we're talking the second onion over there. So it's hard to see. But he showed this to the school board members, and they agreed that 8 penises should not be in science class. But Alan Bonsall, what also offended him was the fact that this proved to him that students were learning about human evolution. And this really outraged him. By the way, the janitor, Larry Reeser, soon after that, picked up this mural and carried it out into the parking lot and set it on fire. Yeah. So one of the things I want to go over tonight is not only how this issue became so divisive in the town of Dover, because it did, but also how it became such a dividing thing for the whole country, really. And for a while, this became a real flashpoint going on. But I'm also going to explain some of the utter dishonesty that went on in this movement and about the people who were lying for Jesus. So, let's see, one second. This is Bill Buckingham. And in 2004, at a June board meeting, Bill Buckingham started talking about the issue of wanting to get the new biology books. He wanted to find a biology book that was balanced with evolution, with the teaching of something else like creationism. And there were two reporters there that night, and they were listening to the remarks. There were about 100 people in the room too. There were two school board meetings about, and so the other school board members who were there, Alan Bonsall, they said, yeah, it's perfectly, you can do that. You can figure out, the constitutional scholars there in Dover said, yeah, you can do that. You can teach creationism alongside evolution. That's okay. And we want to do that. And the two newspaper reporters listened, and they wrote down their remarks, and the next day, in two separate newspapers, their remarks about teaching creationism with evolution appeared in the newspapers. So about a month later, they heard from the Discovery Institute, which is a pro-intelligent design organization that was looking for a test case. And they also heard from Thomas More, his law center, who was also, as you know, been shopping around Pandas and People. And something happened in that month after they had been contacted, because the very next month they started talking about intelligent design. And that fall, they decided to adopt a 4-paragraph statement that included the phrase, making students aware, as they always said. They argued they weren't teaching students, they were just making them aware of the concept of intelligent design. So this became the first time that the phrase intelligent design had actually been adopted into a public school science curriculum. I remember I was talking to Eugenie Scott the day after they had passed it, and I was trying to figure out where this had done before. And she goes, no, you're it, kiddo. This is where it's happening. So they were gearing up for this test case, and the Thomas More Law Center was gearing up for this test case. And there were 11 parents who came forward and said, and this is part of the thing that gets lost in this, this wasn't just a battle for science. This was a battle for religious freedom, because there were 11 parents who said, no, wait a minute. Teaching our children about religion, that's not Bill Buckingham's right. That's not the school board's right. That's my right as a parent. And I will make that decision. And that's why a lot of them stepped forward. Some of them stepped forward too because they didn't want religion taught in science class. But they came forward, and